Today I'll be tying an egg-sucking leech. This is a variation that is heavily inspired by the Sylvanator as well as some of Jerry French's flies. So I'm going to start out with some rabbit strip. This is just the regular standard 1/8 inch. And I'm going to measure it out just so it is exactly the same size as my intruder wire. In this case, this is some 30-pound Power Pro. So I'm going to bring my thread to the back and tie this in. It's important that you get some good wraps down on this because you do not want this slipping out or moving around. Now I've tied it in, it's where I want it. Take my scissors and snip out the excess. Today I'm using a 3/16 inch tungsten bead in hot orange, as well as a size 4 Aqua Talon swing hook. For the shank, I'm using a traditional salmon/steelhead hook, and I just cut off the hook point and put it in my vise. So after I've tied this on, my next step is going to be some dubbing. So I'm going to make a dubbing ball out of Steely Blue ice dub. And I'll lightly pick it out. Don't want to pick it out all the way because I still want some body with this. Pull everything back and wrap it forward. So next I'm going to use some silly legs. These are blue crusher legs. I'm going to put 2 on each side. I'm going to grab 2 strands, fold them over in my hands, and snip them in half. Next I'm going to tie them in just so they go up to the end of the rabbit strip. After securing them in, I'm going to tie them forward just so I don't build up a big bump in the back. Next, I'm going to make a composite loop. First with this black UV ice dub. Then I'm going to snip off a part of this flat diamond braid and separate the fibers. And then add in a little bit more of this blue steely ice dub. So the bottom layer is going to be the black ice dub. I'm going to take a small pinch, about this big. I'm going to set it down on my desk. Next, I'm going to grab a piece of this flat braid and cut off about 2 inches of it. Like so. Then I'm going to double it over and snip it down the middle. I'm going to grab one of my bodkins and just pick these fibers apart in my hands. See on one side, grab it on the other side and flip it over and do the same on the other side so all the fibers are fully separated. Then I'm going to spread them out and put them on top of the dubbing. So they cover about maybe an inch. These should be laid down about 60-40 along the center line. A tiny bit more of the blue steely ice dub, just a pinch, and add it on top of those. Lastly, I'm going to grab a little bit more of this black ice dub and push it down just to hold everything in place like a sandwich. Now I'm going to bring my thread back, create about a 3-inch dubbing loop, and place my materials in the loop. So as you can see, here it is. I'll place it in, get my dubbing spinner, and spin it up. So now that my loop is tightly spun, I'm going to come in here with my bodkin and pick it out. This you want to be pretty aggressive and get all the little fibers pointing outwards so nothing's trapped underneath. Now I'm going to push everything back and turn it into like somewhat of a hackle and wrap it forwards. These wraps shouldn't be super tightly packed, they should just be one right in front of the other. And then come in with my bodkin and pick everything out, just to make sure nothing's trapped. Alright, now I'm going to make another composite loop, and then just set it off to the side while I prepare the dubbing and materials. For this loop, I'm going to use some more of this UV black ice dub, as well as some black ostrich. So I'm going to start off the same way. Just grab a little bit of this black ice dub, just a pinch. About that much is good. I'm going to spread it out in my fingers and then lay it down on my desk. Then I'm going to select some fibers from this ostrich. I don't want to take some of the best fibers from here because they don't need to be that long. So I'm looking at some of these fibers down here, and these look pretty nice. So I'll cut off maybe about 10 fibers. So for this, I just want them to be about a little bit longer than the body. So as you can see, about right there. So once I've placed them down on the dubbing, I'm going to grab another tiny pinch of this dubbing and just place it over that ostrich, just to hold everything in place again. So I'm going to take my loop, pick my materials up off the table, see, as you can see right there, and then I'm going to place it in the loop. Since I have these, the butts of the ostrich feathers sticking out, I do not want those in my fly, so I'm going to come in here with my scissors and snip them out pretty close to my thread. Now I'm just going to spin it up really tight. Once I've got it spun up, I'm going to come in here with my bodkin again and just pick it out. Next, I'm going to push everything back and start wrapping forward. Alright, now that I've got everything nice and secured in, I'm going to come in here again with my bodkin and pick it all out. Lastly, I'm going to get some strung saddle hackle in black, and then I'll select a feather that has some nice webby fibers down at the bottom. Alright, so I like the look of this feather, so I'm going to take all this fuzzy material at the bottom and just strip it out. Now I'm going to get a tie-in point around the middle of the feather, just where the fibers are starting to get bigger and more webby. Pull everything else forward, and then I'll tie it in. Now I'm going to take my hackle pliers, secure them to the stem of the feather, take my scissors and fold back the fibers. Take my fingers, push everything back, and then wrap forward. Once I get to the end here, I kind of want to just push this feather up into the bead a little bit, just so I get everything nice and secure down there. Then I'm going to tie my feather off. When I do this, I want to make sure my wraps are right next to the bead, just so I get a nice head and finish on this fly. Once secured, I'm going to come in here with my scissors and just snip this off. And then I'm just going to whip finish my fly. And like always, 2 whip finishes. This one, it's a little bit more difficult to super glue. If I have any exposed thread, I'll check in a second. I'll come in with the dab. Otherwise, I usually just let it be. Yeah, so here, it's looking like the head is pretty good, so I won't need any super glue. I'm gonna come in here with my scissors and just snip it off. And there you go.